Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. In the stillness of our bedroom, the faint murmur of my wife Lana's voice sliced through the night air. It was just past midnight, and the only light came from the moon casting shadows through our blinds. I had always been a light sleeper, but lately, Lana's restless nights had become a source of insomnia for me as well. Ethan. Ethan, my love, she whispered, her voice a delicate breeze. At first, I thought she was speaking to me, half asleep and tangled in the haze of a dream. But as I lay still, listening, the reality began to dawn on me. I was Mark, not Ethan. Her words, tender and longing, were not meant for my ears. The following day, under the guise of a routine morning, I watched Lana. She moved through her tasks gracefully, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. My mind replayed her whispers, each one a piercing arrow of betrayal. Who was Ethan? A friend? A coworker? Or something more? I needed answers, but direct confrontation wasn't my style. Instead, I opted for a quieter, more calculated approach. I installed a small, nearly invisible camera in our living room and bedroom. If my fears were valid, I'd catch the truth on tape. Days passed, and the tension twisted tighter with each secretive glance she threw at her phone, each late-night return home. Then, one unassuming Tuesday, I left work early. As I approached our house, a strange car parked outside set every nerve on edge. The living room curtains, usually open to let in the light, were drawn tight. My heart pounded in my chest as I unlocked the door quietly. The sounds that greeted me were unmistakable, the rhythmic creaking of the couch, the stifled moans that were not meant for me. I moved silently, driven by a cold fury. The living room scene before me burned into my vision. There, on the couch I had picked out with Lana, was Ethan, an artist by his looks, his hands skillfully playing Lana like one of his instruments. The shock on their faces as I flicked on the light was almost comical. Lana scrambled for cover, her apologies stumbling out half-formed. Ethan, caught in the act, could only muster a weak, "Who are you?" "I'm the husband," I said, my voice ice-cold, the calm before the storm. "And you've just played your final note here, Ethan." The aftermath was a blur of anger and shattered trust. I demanded Ethan leave and never come back. With Lana, my words were fewer, the silence between us heavier than the accusations I could hurl. That night, I slept in a hotel, the echoes of betrayal ringing louder than any dream whispers. Revenge, a dark companion, whispered to me in those sleepless hours. I plotted not just to walk away but to ensure they'd regret their choices deeply. As dawn broke, the first steps of my plan took root. Lana's affair would end, but so would her peace of mind. The stage was set, the players known, and the game of retribution was about to begin. The morning after the confrontation, the sun seemed too bright, too mocking in its cheerfulness. I returned home, each step heavy with the weight of betrayal. Lana was there, waiting, her eyes red-rimmed, a mix of remorse and fear etched across her face. The house felt different, as if the walls themselves recoiled from the secrets they held. "Mark, please, we need to talk," Lana pleaded as I walked in, her voice shaky. I tossed my keys on the table, my gaze steady. "Talk? Like you talked to Ethan in our bed?" She flinched at his name, wrapping her arms around herself. "It's not what you think. It's complicated." "Complicated?" I scoffed, my anger a palpable thing between us. "You betrayed our marriage, Lana. What's complicated about that?" She moved closer, her hands reaching out only to drop back to her sides as I stepped away. "I made a mistake. Ethan, he was a mistake. It was never about love. It was just escapism from us." "Us?" My laugh was bitter. "There is no us when you bring someone else into our marriage. What did you need to escape from, Lana? What did I not provide?" She shook her head, tears starting anew. You wouldn't understand. Try me, I challenged, crossing my arms. It's just, you were always busy, distant. I needed someone, and Ethan was there, she sobbed, desperation in her voice. I was building a career for us, for a better future. And you threw it away for a fling. My voice rose, anger spiking. It was a mistake, Mark. I regret it. Regret doesn't fix this, I snapped. You chose him. You destroyed us. Lana reached for me again, pleading. What can I do to make this right? I pulled away, my decision clear. You can sign the divorce papers. Her face crumpled. Please, Mark. Don't do this. We can go to counseling, try to work through this. No, I cut her off, the finality in my voice brooking no argument. I want you out of this house by tomorrow. I'll send your things. She sobbed, collapsing onto the couch. Mark, please. I turned away, the sight of her distress wrenching yet unsatisfying. My thoughts turned to Ethan. He would not walk away from this unscathed. I had already begun digging into his life, and what I found was promising. He was an artist with a budding career, vulnerable to scandals. A few calls to the right people could crumble his little empire. As I stepped out, Lana's cries echoed behind me. I was unmoved. The pain she felt now was nothing compared to the betrayal that gnawed at me. Goodbye, Lana, I said without turning back. My next stop was to meet a friend who worked in the media. Ethan's career was about to become collateral damage in my quest for retribution. The game had just begun, and I was playing for keeps. The cafe buzzed with the low hum of midday chatter as I sat across from Jenna, an old college friend who had since carved a niche for herself in the world of public relations. Her sharp gaze assessed me over her coffee, sensing the urgency and darkness that had brought me to her. Mark, I've never seen you this intense, Jenna started, her tone cautious. What's going on? It's about a man named Ethan, I said, sliding a folder across the table towards her. Inside were photos of Ethan and Lana together, along with screenshots of his social media pages and other damning details of his life and career. Jenna flipped through the contents, her professionalism masking the surprise in her eyes. This is explosive. How did you get this? I have my ways, I replied, keeping my methods close to my chest. I need this to go public. I want his career, his reputation, everything ruined. She looked up, her expression serious. This will destroy him, Mark. Are you sure about this? He destroyed my marriage, I said flatly, the memory of the betrayal fueling my resolve. I want him to feel a fraction of what I felt. Jenna nodded slowly, understanding the depth of my pain. Okay, I can leak this to some contacts in the media. But it's going to get messy. I'm counting on it, I affirmed, a cold smile touching my lips. As Jenna made calls, I watched the life I was about to dismantle through the lens of social media on my phone. Ethan was posting about an upcoming gallery opening, his big break. The irony twisted a bitter knot in my chest. By tonight, he'd be a pariah. Hours later, the news exploded across social media and made headlines on local news sites, local artist involved in shocking affair. Comments piled up, each one a nail in the coffin of Ethan's career. His followers dropped like flies, and the gallery hosting his work issued a statement canceling his exhibition due to the controversy. Satisfied with the initial chaos, I drove past Ethan's apartment that evening. Predictably, there were reporters camped outside, eager for a glimpse or a statement from the man of the hour. I parked across the street, watching the spectacle unfold. Ethan emerged, haggard, his usual confidence replaced by a haunted look. He tried to shield his face, escaping into a waiting car that whisked him away from the prying eyes. Feeling a mix of triumph and hollowness, I turned my car towards home. The silence of the house greeted me, a stark reminder of the cost of my vengeance. The echoes of Lana's sobs lingered, but they were quickly drowned out by the victory of Ethan's downfall. The phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Jenna. "It's done, Mark. Ethan's career is over," she said, a note of sadness in her voice despite the success. "Thanks, Jenna. I appreciate your help," I responded, the satisfaction sounding hollow even to my own ears. As I ended the call, the reality set in. Lana was gone, Ethan was destroyed, but the void in my life seemed to grow. Revenge had consumed everything, leaving behind a bitter victory. Yet, there was no turning back now. My next steps were unclear, but I knew one thing for sure: the game was far from over. The night was unnaturally quiet as I sat alone in the darkened living room, the only light emanating from the dying embers in the fireplace. My mind replayed the events of the past weeks over and over, each memory sharpening the edge of my resolve. Lana's betrayal with Ethan had set off a cascade of retribution, but the final act was yet to unfold. A soft knock at the door disrupted my thoughts. It was late, and I wasn't expecting anyone. Cautiously, I approached the door and peered through the peephole. It was Lana, her eyes swollen from crying, her posture defeated. I opened the door, my expression unreadable. "What are you doing here, Lana?" She looked up at me, her voice trembling. "Mark, I'm so sorry. I need to talk to you. It's important." Reluctantly, I stepped aside, allowing her into the house we once shared. As she entered, a cold breeze followed her in, as if ushering in the final chapter of our story. We sat across from each other, the tension palpable. Lana took a deep breath before speaking. "Mark, there's something you need to know about Ethan. He manipulated me. It wasn't just an affair." I raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Manipulated how, exactly?" She wiped a tear from her cheek. "He's a con artist, Mark. He targets women like me, vulnerable, unhappy. He pretends to fall in love, to care, but it's all a scam to get money." The revelation hit me with unexpected force. My mind raced as I processed her words. "Is that supposed to excuse what you did?" "No, not at all," she hurried to say. "But I found out something else. Ethan wasn't working alone. He had a partner, someone you know." The plot thickened, and my grip tightened on the arms of my chair. "Who?" Lana hesitated, then her voice dropped to a whisper. "It's Jenna. Your friend, Jenna. She's been helping him all along. They plan to ruin you after destroying me." Shock and betrayal twisted inside me, a double-edged sword that cut deep. Jenna, my confidant in revenge, was betraying me. It seemed too ironic to be true. "How did you find this out?" I demanded, my voice hard. "I overheard them talking. They didn't know I was still in Ethan's apartment. They were planning to leave town together," Lana explained, her eyes pleading for me to believe her. The pieces fell into place, a sickening puzzle of deceit. Jenna had played me just as she had played the media. My quest for vengeance had been manipulated, turned against me in the cruelest twist. Without a word, I stood and went to my desk, pulling out a recorder. I played it back, Jenna's voice, clear and incriminating, discussing their plans with Ethan. I had suspected a deeper game and had prepared accordingly. Lana gasped, realizing the extent of the conspiracy. "What are we going to do?" "We?" I echoed coldly. "There is no we, Lana. But I will end this." I contacted the authorities, presenting them with the evidence of Jenna and Ethan's fraud and betrayal. The police acted swiftly, apprehending them before they could flee. As for Lana, our final goodbye was brief. "You should have trusted me," I told her, the words heavy with regret. "I know. I'm sorry, Mark," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I watched her leave, the door closing softly behind her. Alone in the silence, I realized that my revenge had come full circle, leaving me isolated but clear-eyed. Betrayal had cost me everything, and yet, I felt a strange sense of peace. The deceptions were over, the traitors punished, and my heart was finally free to seek a new beginning, far from the shadows of the past.